Hello loves, welcome to another tutorial. If you are new to this YouTube channel, you are welcome. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for always coming back to watch my video. God bless you. In today's video, we are going to be making this beautiful skirt that you see on the screen. It's a pleated skirt. In my next tutorial, we are going to also focusing on the upper part, which is the blouse. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and drop your comments on the comment section. Love you. Guys, here are the materials I'm going to be make use of. This is Mikado, so I'm going to be using Mikado as the main skirt. Then I also have my lining here, then also my hard net too. The Mikado, I have it 3 yards. That 3 yards is what I'm going to use as the width that I'm going to pleat to have my 40 inches waist measurement. Then my lining too, I have 2 yards of lining. This lining is by 60, so I cut it into 2. So I'm going to be using the 2 yards, right? The width of 2 yards. I cut it into 2, then I'm going to join it. So let's open it up. So the width, 36 inches is 1 yard, right? So 36 inches plus 36 inches, we have 72, right? So what I have here now is, I will join it together. I've cut it into 2. So if I join it together here, we'll be having, like, let's say a total of 71. So by the time we use ½ inch here on both sides, we will now end up having 71 inches width. So the width of this is going to be 71, and because I've shared this into 2, it's by 60. So here I have 30 inches. So the length of this is 13 inches for my lining, and the Mikado, which is the main skirt, my skirt length, I want it to be 36 inches, right? 36 inches. Then I added 2 inches to it. These 2 inches I add to it, I'm going to be using 1.5 to turn it at the down part. For the upper part, I need ½ inch to join my band to the skirt, right? So these are all the materials. So what I want to do is that I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to pleat this on the paper, because this fabric is so wide, so just this table will not accommodate it for me. So I'll be showing you how we pleat it on the paper, then we'll do the same thing to the fabric. So let me bring the paper. So here is the paper. Let's imagine that this is the width of 3 yards, right? And this is the length of 38 inches length, right? And 3 yards of fabric, right? So this is the width of my 3 yards, and this is the length of 38. So what I will do is that from this beginning here, I will measure 1.5 inches. That will serve as my zip seam allowance. So let's imagine that this is the 1.5 inches. So we measure this 1.5 inches. Then from this 1.5 inches, I just go in like 2 to 3 inches. So this actually depends on your waist measurements. If your waist is 30, that means you have enough room to work with for the pleating if you are using 3 yards, right? So just randomly pleat it, and as you pleat, you'll be measuring your waist measurement to have your waist circumference. If you don't have your waist circumference, then you have to replete again, right? So I'm working with my zip of 1.5 inches here. Then I measure like 3 yards. Then what I did now, from these 3 yards, I now pleat it this way, pick it up this way, then I take it to the 1.5 inches this way, right? Then I pin it down. Then from there I measure extra 3 inches again, then I mark it. Then from that 3 inches I measure, let's say I now measure 8 inches. Then half of the 8 inches is 4. Then I mark the 4 inches. Then I also mark where my tape rule ends here. So let's imagine that this is the 8 inches. This is the 8 inches, right? So I measure 8 inches from this mark here, right? So then I mark the midpoint of it. Then I also mark where it stops here. So this is where my key split is going to start from. This first split I pleated is coming towards the zip. Another one is coming here to cover the zip at the middle, right? So my pleats start from here. My box pleats start from here. Then I take this one here, pleat it on the middle part this way. Then this last one here, so I will now have my boss pleat right? So this is how I made it. Then I will have my bust pleat. So I will continue like that. Then from here again, I will measure another 4 inches to 3 inches. Then I'll measure 8 inches again. Then pleat it in the middle. Then have my bust pleat or kiss pleat this way. So the same way that I've illustrated on this pattern paper, that is how I'm going to do it on my Mikado. So here is my Mikado now, and as I have explained, I pleated it. I do pleating on it already. So the length that I have here is 38, right? The total length I have from here to here is 38. Then the width is 3 yards, right? So as I've explained, I measure. Then another thing again you need to know is that you have to pleat on the right side of the fabric, because this other side will know the down part. You have to place the right side of the fabric up so that you pleat on the right side of the fabric, right? So this is the beginning of the edge. This is the edge, right? So I measure 1.5 inches. You can see it. This is 1.5 inches. Then from that 1.5 inches, then I measure 3.5 or 4 inches, right? Then from there I pleat back like the way I've explained on the pattern, right? I pleated back. Then from there again I measure 8 inches, then mark the midpoint of 4 inches. Then I pleat this in, then pleat this back this way. So and I have my kiss pleat here. Then I continue the pleating that way, and that is how I end up pleating all of the fabric of 3 yards, right? So then at the end of the day I measure the full width, starting from the beginning, even the beginning to the ending part. I also make sure that I have 1.5 inches too at this other side too. So starting from here, you use your tape rule to measure the waist round this way, measure it round this way. Then you have your waist circumference. So here I have 40 inches, which is what I'm working with, plus my zip seam allowance, right? Then when you are pleating, you can use your pin first to pleat it. Then you use your pin to put it in place, right? After you have your waist circumference, you are sure that your waist circumference is okay, then you can now go over to your sewing machine, then run a stitch on it, right? Then you remove the pin. So that's what I did here. So let's keep this aside, then work with the lining now. So for the lining, here is my lining, and I'll share it into two. This is 2 yards, as I've explained. I'll share it into two. I'm going to go it a little, not too much, right? I'll just split it small on it. So what I will do, from the upper part here, I'll be coming down from the waist. I'll be coming down like 3 inches. So the hardness will start from 3 inches. I'm going to follow the line. I'll mark it all to the end. I'll come down 3 inches. Then the width of this is, so the width of my hardness is 8 inches. So if I pleat ½ inch and I sew it on the 3 inches that I came down, then from this 8 inches too, I will measure down, let's say I'll measure down like 2 inches, right? Then I'll place the second one on it this way too. Then I also pleat it on it. So the hardness is not going to get to the length of the lining, right? So that's the goal. You should not get to the length of the lining. So this will be shorter and this will be a bit longer. Then the male skirt to fabric will also be the longer length. So I will do all of that, then come back to show you. So I've already placed the hardness on it, right? So if you have more of it, you can still fill up this space that I have here, but this is what I have and this is what I've got to work with, right? So you can see how I pleat it small on it. Then another thing that you need to take note is that, you remember this, I measure 3 inches down, then start it from there, then 8 inches, which is the length of the hardness, then another 3.5 inches, then from here 8 inches, then the length is still, there's this space here. So when you want to place it, you place it in a way that you sew it this way, then you flip it out like this, right? So that the sewing can be inside. Hope that is clear. So this is what I have. The sewing is inside. So what I'm going to do is that this part now, that with the line, the hard net is now, is going to be inside, while this part is going to be the right side of my lining, right? So I'll get the Mikado this way. This is the front, my Mikado, the front part. Then I'll get my lining, I'll place it right side face each other. So this is the right side of my lining as I've explained. So I'll place it right side face each other this way. Then you know the lining, the width of the lining is bigger than the width of the, is longer than the width, the length, the width of the Mikado, right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to sew with half inch, which is the end part of the zipper allowance. I'll take it, I'll sew it with half inch to where the lining is going to stop, right? To where the lining will stop, I'll sew it with half inch. I'll do the same thing to the other side. Then the middle part, I'm going to be gathering it, right? I'll just gather it randomly to fit the waist of this, of my Mikado, right? So the waist, remember the waist again is 40. So I'm going to gather this, gather the lining to fit the waist of 40 of my Mikado. So let me do that, then come back to show you. This is it. I've already gathered the lining on it, so you can see the gathers here. Here is it. I've already gathered it on it, and this is it on the right side, right? So the hard net is now inside. This is the hard net inside, so this will give your skirts more volume, right? So we're almost done. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure round. Remember the measurement, you are still working with your waist measurement plus your zip seam allowance, right? So your measurement, what you have, that's what I'm going to use to cut your band. So after fixing the band, so let's go straight in cutting the band. So I'm going to keep this aside to cut the band. So for my band, I'm also going to use a paper. I will draft it on a paper, then after which I'll transfer it to my fabric. But you can cut it directly on your fabric, right? You can do what I want to do now directly on your fabric. So for my band to relax properly, I want to use this method to cut my band, right? So I got a long paper, so I'm going to fold it into two. So you fold it into two the way I'm doing right now. So after folding it into two, this is the opening part, right? This side is the opening part, while this side is the folded part, right? So I'm going to measure from this opening part. I'll measure half of my waist measurement, then I'm going to rule it here. So you measure half of your waist plus your zip seam allowance, that is the round of the skirt. You measure it round, then you mark it here, half of it. So half of it here I have 21, right? So this 21 now, from this place here, I'm going to go up. I'll go up 1 inch. I'll go up 1 inch this way, then I'll curve it towards this area here. So I can use my curve ruler to curve it, or you can use your hand. If you don't have a curve ruler, you can use your hand. So I'll curve it this way, right? That's it. So now from here, the skirt band, I'm going to make use of 1 inch, or I'll make use of 1.5 inches for the skirt band. So plus 1 inch to sew it, so that's like 2.5. So I'll mark the 2.5 here like this. So then after you measure your desired width that you need for your band, then you measure what you have from here this way. So you measure it here to make sure that you have half of your what you have on your waist round, right? So I'm going to measure it round this way, following the curve. I'll measure it this way. So I need 21. So I'll mark it here. Then I'm going to place my ruler this way, and I'll connect it this way. So that's it. So now I'm going to cut this out. This is the band now, right? So I will notch the midpoint. You notch the midpoint. So this part here will be where you will be fitting to the skirt, while this part is where you are going to turn. So if you open it up, you have your full waist measurement plus your zip seam allowance. So you are cutting 2 of this on your fabric, then you use one to turn the other. So you are going to turn it on this side. So I'm going to cut 2 of this, then I'm going to be sewing this upper part with half inch, sew it with half inch, then I'll top stitch on one side. That one side that is going to be the one that will be inside. Then I'm going to iron it, then I'll fold in half inch, after which I will add it to my skirt, right? So let me do that, then come back to show you. Guys, I've already cut it on my fabric. So this is what I have. So I cut 2 of it as I've mentioned. Then I've notched the center point, right? So if you look at it very well, if you follow the process that I showed you, if you follow the process, then you have it a little bit curvy this way, right? It will be a little bit curvy this way. So this curve part is where we are going to be sewing together. We'll place it 2 right side face each other. I've also ironed my stay on it, so I place it right side face each other this way, and this curvy part is where I'm going to sew. So I'm going to remember we added 1 inch for sewing allowance, so determine your band width, then add 1 inch to it, because that 1 inch we are going to use half inch to sew it at the upper part, use half inch to sew it at the down part. So mine, I make use of my width is 1.5 inches, then I added 1 inch, which is 2.5 inches, which is what we make use of, right? So this is 2.5 inches. So from this upper part, this curvy part, now I'm going to sew half inch, sew them together using half inch this way. Then after which I'm going to top stitch on one of it, right? So that will not be the one that will be inside. So let me do that. So guys, I've already sew it together, then I've top stitched on it as I've mentioned, so you can see now. So this will be the part that will show at the front, and this will be inside, right? So I'm going to go to my ironing table, then I'm going to iron it, and I'll iron it flat this way. Then I've also measured half inch here, so I'll fold in this half inch this way and iron it inside, right? So I'll fold it inside. This is it, guys. I've already ironed it, so I've also ironed the half inch to inside. So for you to also put it in place, you can use your hemming gum, right? So this one, it will not come out because I've used my hemming gum to put it in place, right? So what I'm going to do now, this part is what I'm going to sew to my skirt. So I'll get my skirt, which is what we have here. Remember, this is the right side, right? So I'll get the band, and I'm going to place the middle of it. I'll place it on it like this, right? So I'm just going to go ahead to sew on my machine. So I'll sew it to the end, then I'll turn it to the, I'll flip it to the inside, then I'll just top stitch on it. So let me do that and come back to show you. Guys, I've already sewed it on it. So I've already sewed the band on it, right, on one side. So I'm going to flip it. So if you notice, you can see that I also sew it to my zipper allowance. So it is better that you even have excess than you have shortage, right? So I have a little excess on both sides, which is fine. I'll trim it off. So what I will do next now is to flip it over like this. Remember, we've already ironed this, so I'm going to trim this to 1/4 inch, right? Then I'll flip it over like this, right? Then I'm going to top stitch on it all to the end. So we'll now have our complete band neatly sewn, right? After which my zipper is going to enter through the band as well. So all this part here will be my zip, right? So I'll cut this part too off. Then all this part here will be my zip. So when I want to sew this, I'll flip it like this first, right? Then I'm going to sew it close to where this stop. I'll sew it this way, then trim this part off, then I'll open it out, right? Then my zip will enter from here to where I want the zip to stop. Then I'll sew the remaining part all down. Then at this down part here, I'm going to hem it with, I'll use Remember, we added 2 inches. We have used ½ inch up to join the band, right? The main 1.5. So you measure the 1.5 here, then you fold in half, then you fold it into the 1, right? So you sew it all around. So I will do that, and that will be the end of this tutorial. At the end of the day, you have your skirt neatly sewn, and it's going to be very full, right? So let me do that, then I'll show you the final results. So here is our skirt, guys. You can see how beautiful it is. This is really beautiful and full, right? After finishing the band, this is what I have. You can see how neat it is. This is the inside. After finishing the lining on it, this is what I have. It's so beautiful, guys. If you wear this, it's going to give it that fullness, and it's really beautiful. This is what I have. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Love you. Bye.